What is up, Adrian Butler, the man, the myth, the legend? Thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing well. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. This is I've been having a lot of fun with these. This is a fun little hobby that I've picked up, and I'm just really excited to talk to you. I've known you for a long time.
A very
We've
long time.
only worked together, in a professional capacity just these last few years.
Hmm.
But I've known you for quite some time. I remember, I'm not going to embarrass you, and there's nothing embarrassing at all. But I remember the first time, I believe the first time I actually met you, because I'd seen you. It's like the industry is small, and I knew you cheered at Top Gun. You were friends with a lot of the kids that I was coaching, but I think the first time I actually met you, you were in the all white. It wasn't. It was Yoso, I think. Was the first
Yep.
year of Yoso? It was that.
2012. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first time I met you. Just this tall, and you were just beaming. Like it was, and I believe I've told you this in person, but I'm going to say it again. I'm going to put it on wax. Like, there are only a few people in this industry that I know love, like, just love cheerleading. It's what they like. They breathe it, they exude it. And I remember the first time I met you, I was like, dude, he's got it. And if you, and I just knew that if you ever got your foot in any door, right? I was like, he's gonna take off. Like, you could
Thank
just
you.
tell,
I appreciate that.
And yeah, and I just remember meeting you as a young man. I'm like, dude, this kid's got it. He's got whatever it is. He's got it. And here we are. I'm gonna do a little intro to let the people know. And if I miss anything, you got to fill in the gaps. But here we are, 11 years after we've met, 12 years,
Yeah.
12 years after we met, and we have multiple NCAA championships, multiple world championships, not only as a coach, but also as a choreographer. You work at one of the, if not the biggest cheerleading program, the most well-known program in the world. Definitely one of them, if not the one. And you're also, I don't know what the title is, directing the gym
Yep.
in Orlando. Yeah,
Yep.
and it's like, it's been, first of all, I am not surprised at all. But it's so cool to see the see where you started, and we're going to get into the whole story, but to see what you're doing and what you've accomplished, it's absolutely outstanding. But the one, the only, the legendary, the world renowned Adrian Butler, thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I'm so excited. So if I missed anything, and we'll get into like we're going to go through the teams that you've been on and all that, but if there's anything you're currently doing besides, coaching and choreography, and actually, you know what, this is a good time. Let's tap in. What teams are you coaching this season?
So this season, I started the season coaching Prophecy, which was small co-ed 6, Revelation, which is medium co-ed level 6, 24K, which is medium co-ed level 4, and then just recently we added our mid-season level 7 teams, which is Guardians, which is international large co-ed 7, and then Lady Eve, which is all girl level 7. So a total of
Yes.
5.
Woo! And on top of that, directing the gym and doing choreography all over the country and the world.
Correct.
Yeah. So booked and busy.
Booked and busy.
Yes, I love it. I love it, man. And while we're, you just mentioned Guardians, I definitely have to give you a shout out. So last year was the first time that I produced music for you, and I was so excited, and I'm still so excited. It's so honored and so humbled. And Top Gun Guardians is actually the first world champion mix that I produced from beginning to end. And so thanks to you and that opportunity, I got a gold record hanging in the studio, baby.
Hey, it's well deserved. You did great work on that, and we really appreciate you.
Well, thank you, man. It was so much fun, and that was my first excuse me, that was my first Top Gun mix, and then for that to be a world's team, it was absolutely perfect. It was perfect. So thank you. We're
No
not going to
problem.
get out of here without me thanking you for that. Okay, so we got your current teams, 5 teams, which is insane. You're probably at the gym 7 days a week.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But I want you to take us all back, right? I want you to take us all back to the very, very beginning. So when, where, and how did you get your start in cheerleading?
Okay, so it's a long way back, but I had just moved to Florida, I would say around 6th grade. And I used to see these people in my backyards. Like I lived in a community where there was like a park in the middle of the community, and everyone's back windows used to face the park. So I used to see these kids doing backflips. And growing up, I was always interested in choreography and dance and different things. I would try to learn different music videos and their choreography, and me and my cousins would just like dance around and try to figure it out. So I think that's where I derived the passion for moving and movements and dancing and things of that sort. And then the whole other layer came in sixth grade when I saw these people doing backflips in the yard. I'm like, what is that? Like, I want to learn how to do that. So I finally like went out there and tried to like introduce myself and try to become friendly. And then I was like, where do you guys do this? Like, what is this flipping thing that you guys do? And they're like tumbling. Like we go to open gym at the local gymnastics place every Friday for parents' night out. And I was like, I want to go. Like, why can't I go? They're like, you can. So I went with these kids one time, and I walked into this world of just trampolines and spring floors and bouncing and people flipping. And I'm like, I felt so intimidated. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this. And me, as the human that I am, I'm a natural worrier, and like I'm scared of a lot of things. Um, and I stress myself out. So all I could ever think about was flipping myself backwards and hurting myself. So I'm like, I don't know if this is really for me. Um, so I started to learn, and I started to just throw myself over. And in that setting, it was just an open gym. So it was kind of self-taught. So then I did some deeper diving, and I started school there at that point, and there were kids in my class that did cheerleading. And I didn't know if I really wanted to be a cheerleader at that time. Male cheerleading wasn't really that big of a thing. So I was like, okay, I'll take some classes. So I registered for classes at a local gym called Boca Extreme, in Boca Raton, Florida. And that was like where the groundwork of my cheer career, I would say, started. And at that point, I was introduced to like everything: videos, gyms, this, that, the other. And I just fell in love with it all so fast. And I mean, I was just this little boy on a cheese mat. There's still a video somewhere on my Facebook tagged of me just throwing myself over in these classes. Um, and then as I started to love cheerleading more and more, um, they didn't really have a co-ed team for me there, which they never said I couldn't cheer. They just didn't have it there. So I started to explore options and things of that sort. And then I ended up at Cheer Florida, which really paved the way for my career in the sense of laying a foundation. They taught me so much. They taught me my fundamentals. They taught me my stunting. That's where I really found my passion for stunting, because in cheerleading, I never got to really be the most elite tumbler. I prided myself off of my performance level, my stunting abilities, and my jumps. And that was where I fell into my niche in the sport as an athlete, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I had some really, really great coaches there. Ricky Alvarado, Imani Word, Rob, and Katya. They've taught me so much in my foundation, and really just opened my eyes to this great sport. Stephanie Reed was another one. There's so many names there from that program that really left an impact on me. Um, but I would say those are the ones that really invested in my growth there. Um, then, as I got into my more elite years, my family had moved to Miami, and my mom was living in downtown. But at that point, I knew nothing more than what I knew of my program, and I just loved it so much. So I did a host family situation and stayed up north a little bit and stayed at Cheer Florida for a year. And then just kind of after that, it trickled into I was missing home. I wasn't with my mom. but she was so close. It was just like, not why am I doing this, but like I just missed my mom. I was like 16 years old, being away from home. Mom's not far. I was like, I need to go home. So, but I still loved cheerleading so much. This is now at this point, I know all the teams. I'm like trying to do stunt sequences on my bed. I'm double downing and breaking my bed. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be the flyer, but like, I didn't get that opportunity. That's the one thing I didn't get to do. Um, so then just kind of going into my Top Gun life, this is now like 2012. I did a year on Yoso and Coed 4 combined. And then the next year I was on large Coed and Coed 4. But the fun fact is during my senior age times at Top Gun, um, I was like one of the only guys that got to do every single level. I've been on every single co-ed team at Top Gun Miami. I've been on senior 1, senior 2, senior 3, 4, senior 5, senior 6, and then at the time it was level 6 open, and then I did both open teams. I've had quite the career there as an athlete. So then I
Well
started to,
rounded. Well
yes,
rounded. Yeah.
but the tumbling was never there. I just really loved the gym and really loved cheerleading. So I was like, whatever you need me to do, I will compete a million times to wear this uniform. Um, so I think just then it just kind of exploded. Like I had never been so surrounded by so much energy, I would say
Mm.
was the best word to describe it. It's like there's so much talent. There's people from all over coming in. There's all these cheer legends that I'd only seen on YouTube and this and that. And it's like you're there. And all I wanted to do at that point was become a sponge. And I was like, let me figure all of this out. Like, let me sit down, let me like, you see Victor and Kristen online for so many years, and you're like you idolize them because of the great cheerleading that they put out and the genuine human beings that they are. And then you're sat in front of them, and
Mm.
you're like, what is this? And the thing that mind you, just quickly, Victor and Kristen are my absolute role models. They have honestly raised me in this sport. They have just truly invested in me and has made me the human being. They taught me great lessons, hard lessons, like everything you could possibly think of that a young adult needs. They provided that for me. And I just wanted to give them that little shout out because they're two people that are pinnacle in my life. And I don't think that I would be where I am in life and in cheerleading without them. So shout out to Coach Vic and Coach Kristen.
Yeah.
Um, then just kind of going it's really intimidating because the year that I got there, Large Coed was having like one of their best seasons. So I always just wanted to be there and just be around it. And even though I wasn't on the team, I just wanted to see it for myself and like hear what they were saying and what they were coaching and all these things.
Mhm.
And that's when I started to see cheerleading from not just what they were doing, but how they were training it.
Mhm.
So then moving into 2014, 2015, those were my large co-ed years. 2014 was a fever dream. I didn't really understand what was going on. I knew that I was on this great team. I knew that this is one of the most respected teams in the industry. Yeah, that was my first year at the World Championship. And as an athlete, I'd been going to Worlds since 2009 and just spectating, but
Mhm.
2014 was my first time, but it was my senior year. And I happened to have an undefeated season that year and win Worlds as a grand champion. It was insane, to say the least.
And I don't want to interrupt you. I know you're on a flow. Was that the hula hoop year where you guys jumped into the hula hoops?
That was the year after. The 2014 year was the flags on the legs. So
Yes.
when we did the ripple
Yes.
kick doubles, it spelled Jaguars.
Yes.
And there was just so many iconic things that came out of that season. And then 2015 was the hula hoop year, and I would say that was kind of when I started to move into a leadership role,
Mhm.
I understood it. I got the process. I knew it. I'd been on the team for a year. We had a lot of veterans, like old school veterans, graduate 2014. So there was a new line of us that like had to kind of step up,
Mhm.
and um, it was probably one of my favorite seasons to date. I will never forget that. And Coach Kristen, I could give you a whole book of one-liners that she says. But she's like, I have enjoyed some of my favorite seasons with the teams that we've lost with. And to this day,
Mhm.
it's not about the outcome. And these are things that I teach my kids now from learning from them. It's about the journey. And we had so much fun. We made so many memories. We had so many bonds. We actually had an injury on World's Day 2 in our first performance,
I remember
and
that.
and the floor was cleared. We had to go again, and it just it didn't work out for us that day. We ended up getting second, but that was a season that I would not trade or do over any type of way. Obviously, the athlete that got injured, I wish that we couldn't have had that, but even just the camaraderie and the unity backstage after that, you could feel and see the fire in everyone else's eyes, like around you, that like we're doing this, we're all here, we're all doing this for him, for us, for our coaches, for our program, for the sport. It was like an overwhelming feeling of unity that really just drove me into the sport even more than I was already in.
Yeah.
And just running out on that baseball field at that point, for the second time, and just the support that we had from the community was incredible. It's a feeling that lives in my head rent free, and I hope and pray that everyone gets to experience that community feeling from cheerleading.
Mm.
So 2015 happened, and then I took a year and I actually went backwards because I think this is a great learning lesson as well. You know, when you aren't an all around athlete, sometimes your placements just don't work out as you wanted. My dream was always to be on double O, and I was just determined to always be there. So I think some people think that sometimes there's a natural push from aging out of large co-ed to you just get to make double O.
Mm.
And that is not the case. You have to go through the ropes and try out just like everybody else. And I didn't make it. That first year, I was beat out. I was not good enough, which is at the time hurt, but it taught me so much. I actually ended up doing a year on the Open Four team, which was so fun. I got to cheer with my best friend. I got to travel to Las Vegas to compete. There were so many ups about that. And in that time, I just took it upon myself to retrain to be better.
Mm.
Uh, then 2017 came around, and we started this new team called 6-6. It's like the college level of all star cheer.
Yeah.
And we were just going out on a whim and just trying it. Um, I was so happy just to be back in the world's realm that it just didn't even matter to me that I wasn't on. And I tried out again for double O that year and didn't make it again. So that's 2 years that I didn't make the team. But we had that second world's team, so I had so much fun on that. We ended up winning worlds that year on an at-large bid from
Yep.
NCAA. I'll never forget it.
Yep. I remember that year.
And then we went to the next year, had a great season, won NCAA, fell short at Worlds, got second. Great competition. Cali Reckless was always amazing in that division. So it was always an honor to compete against them. They're always so fun, always so friendly. Orby and Eddie really, really did a great job with them. And it was just fun cheer, you know, like
Yeah.
it's okay to be competitive, and if that's the name of the game to me, it's competitive cheerleading, and I think sometimes we forget that. But it's okay to be competitive and still have fun, and I think that people forget that sometimes. Um, then moving into 19, I'm like starting to really. 2018 was the true kickoff of my coaching career as well. I coached Yoso, Junior One, and Lady Jags. I had fallen in love with the Lady Jags 2014, and I kind of just was like this big fan all the way through. And then I got an opportunity with Greg, Sean, and Jordan to start to help out. Just they really liked my energy, and they said it would probably be good for the girls. So we started helping, and we coached with them that year. And alongside of all that, we ended up junior one was like this group of kids that just kind of was learning cheerleading. I got to share so much passion and love with them, and they just believed in me as much as I believed in them. And we ended up going all the way, full paid bid, winning the summit. It was amazing.
Yes.
um Yoso that year, I think the best thing about Top Gun is when you I think there's a lot to be said of growing through the program as athletes and then becoming coaches. You don't see often that there's a higher out process. Not saying that it doesn't happen at all, but it's not common. It's usually the athletes that have been through the gym, through the program for many, many years and just eat, breathe, sleep Top Gun. And
Yep.
I was one of those kids. Um, so then I got to coach Yoso with coaches that coached me. And that was just like a full rendezvous experience. And it was just like, wow, I really made it here. And I thought that I was
Hmm.
doing the big things then.
Hmm.
So coaching Yoso and Lady Jags with Greg was just a mind-boggling experience, and I'm so grateful I even got to do that. Yoso also ended up winning the summit that year, and Lady Jags ended up winning the world championship that year.
Yeah.
So my first year of coaching was also a fever dream. It was just like all these great things, great friendships, great memories, and then on top of it, we got to finish our seasons with the accolades that I felt we worked for.
Yeah.
Um, so then 2019 comes along, and I think this was the turning point of my cheer career of where I had to make decisions as athlete versus coach versus all these things. I finally made double O. I
Yeah.
finally I finally made it to the team that I felt like I worked my whole career to make. And as coaches, we preach that like you just got to be all in. Like you got to be in it to win it. You cannot. You have to eat, sleep, breathe this team. And then that's also the year that I started Sci-Fi, and that was my baby. That was my end all be all. I would go through walls for them, and it was just like I felt myself being tugged in 80 different directions. I also coached 6-6 with Jose that year. So I was on double O, coaching Sci-Fi, coaching Junior One, coaching 6-6. It was just a lot.
Yeah.
So I remember the first part of the year is really not that hard during comp season because, I mean, the pre-comp season because it's just practices, like you're just in the gym a lot. And
Hmm.
then I found that double O and Sci-Fi were both at Jam Fest.
Hmm.
And um, it was just hard. I definitely got to a point where I think it was day two of double O. And trust me, I loved that team. They were so fun. And it was such a good group of kids. I knew they were going to go the whole distance.
Hmm.
Um, but I had a little personal mistake in my routine. And I walked off the stage with not that I didn't feel bad about it, but it wasn't weighing on me as much as it had in the past if I had made a mistake.
Hmm.
And I said, I think that I'm going to cause more harm than good staying on this team because this is a group of people that's all in. And I think my mind was just starting to gear and switch into more coaches like training, and I wanted to be a better coach.
Hmm.
And I just remember getting off the floor and being like, well, I have Sci-Fi warm up right now. And old me, when I was head deep into being an athlete, would have been on the side panicking. I need to go do reps. I need to do this. I need to do that. And I self reflected and I had that realization that at that moment I wasn't all in.
Hmm.
So there was athletes on the side that were all in that really wanted that opportunity. So I had a meeting with the coaches and I just said, I know I've wanted this for years, but I don't think that I'm being the best athlete I can be right now. And I don't think that it's fair to take that opportunity away from someone that could really show up for you every single time. So I think I'm going to have to bow out of this. And so I ended up not doing the team for the rest of the season. Um, and that team went to win the world championship. And I just really got to dive into my passion of coaching. And that's really when I like found my love for it, for cleaning, for choreography, for the process. And um, Sci-Five, I thought, was the best one-hit wonder that there could have been in cheerleading. Um, and
When that was sci-fi, if anybody doesn't remember, that was the slow motion, like
yeah,
but the beautiful thing about it was there was a slow motion moment in the pyramid. There was also slow motion tumbling, like people were flipping in slow motion, and then there was slow motion choreography. It was
yep.
brilliant. That's one of my favorite things, like top 5 favorite things that have ever happened in cheerleading. That's in there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that's like, and just going back to the comment about teams that are memorable that don't win, that was one of those. We had the day one of our lives and an unfortunate day two at Worlds, and it still lives in my heart. And I think that's where I got I would say my secrets and like my process within my teams now, and like the way I do things, and the team bondings and all those little rituals and things that make the experience different for my kids than these other teams and gyms came from that team. So
Yeah.
while sometimes you always don't win, you might win in other places. And I think I won that season with figuring out my why in coaching.
Mm.
Um, and then it just kind of trickled, just I've been in South Florida at that point for about 11 years. I felt like I needed something different, just to either realize what I had at home, or to figure out, just to see cheerleading from a different lens.
Hmm.
I had multiple meetings that season with Kristen, just being open and honest. And I'm just like, it's nothing against the program. It's nothing against you guys. I just feel like I need to explore. They were always 100% open and grateful that I had those conversations with them. And just so I had made a decision that I was moving to California. I just one day was like, I am going to go to Cali, and that's what I'm doing. And they were completely supportive. And she was like, home is always here if you need to come home. But go fly, like figure it out, like figure out what you want from it. And at that point, I had then taken a job at the California All Stars. I actually worked in your location for a little bit. And then I kind of started bouncing around, and I ended up working in Camarillo, coaching with Eddie and Orby. I coached a little bit of everything there, from TNT to SMOED to Code 3 to Senior 1, helped out with the Assassins a little bit. And then I would drive. I don't know what made me want to be an athlete again. But I came out of retirement, decided that I wanted to do Cali Co-Ed because it was the first year that they were going to try an open division. Seemed really fun. One of my great friends was coaching it. Why not? Let's put on the cheer shoes again. So I lived in California for about 8 months. Honestly, it was life changing. I love the great state of California. To this day, I think if you ask anyone that's close to me, they're like, where could you live if it wasn't where you are? I'm going back to Cali. I love California. Tanaz took me in with open arms. You guys all just made me feel so welcomed so fast. And that's very hard to come by in this industry. And I really felt the sense of family at the California All Stars. No matter which location, you always had support. I love that it was so open with just being able to express yourself, no matter which way you thought, this way, if you agreed, disagreed. The expression was always so genuine, and you were welcome to express yourself. And the style of cheerleading is completely different. So I feel like at Top Gun, I got very much hard, difficult cheerleading that was showcased very well with great technique. And then I got to see that Cali clean and Cali fun and that energy that performance level that I've always watched. And I was like, whoa, this is great. And so I just kind of, from a coaching standpoint, I wanted to mix them.
Hmm.
And I wanted the difficulty of Top Gun. Not saying that California All Stars didn't have difficulty, but I loved and appreciated their training methods and alongside of their deliverance, I guess you could say is a word of the way the routines were portrayed.
Hmm.
So my goal was to always mix those. And then unfortunately, COVID happened, and California being the state that it is and how expensive it is, I just couldn't manage to live in California, and we didn't have steady work, steady choreography at that point. Like everything was just uncertain. So I felt like it was best for me to go home. Moved back to Florida. Um, I knew that Top Gun was always where my heart is because that's just home for me. Like I've been there for I think now like 13 years. Um, so I was exploring and I didn't want to go back to Miami as in the city of Miami. Um, the gym is always my first love, but I just didn't really want to be in Miami anymore. But I loved the program. I loved what it stands for. I loved everything about it. So that's kind of how I ended up here. I had a great friend of course, that cheered with me in Miami that worked at the Orlando location. He was like, why don't you come just try it out? And it's I haven't left since. This is year 4, and it's been amazing. Annie and Roger welcomed me with open arms. They have treated me like a child of their own since I've gotten here. I've really been blessed in this industry with some of the best mentors and best people that really just love what they do, love the sport, love to see people grow. I have really learned so much being in Top Gun Orlando of just like the ins and outs of a business. Roger is the best mentor and has really taken me underneath of his wing to teach me so much about this beyond cheerleading that I never knew existed. And we have so many conversations where we just sit down and we just talk bigger picture and we talk about certain things and we just get on the same page. And Annie loves me like I'm one of her sons. Like they are incredible people and our staff and there's so much to be grateful for here at Top Gun Orlando and we just do it all together and that's the best part. And then I just kind of just ran with it from there, you know. Doing choreography has always been in the background as well. It gets hard during the season because, you know, as a choreographer, people want changes, want upgrades, want this, want that. And I want to be able to do it all, but it's just not humanely possible to make everyone as happy as you can. And that was a really hard lesson for me to learn because I'm such a people pleaser and I love to see everyone happy. Like that is one of my biggest joys is to see people smiling and to see people fulfilled and their cup being filled and I feel awful when I can't provide that. So
Mm.
that's been a really tough lesson for me to learn, but overall, really grateful. I've had the cheer career of a lifetime, and I'm just really excited to see where it goes in the next couple of years.
Yeah, that is awesome. Well, you took us on a huge journey, and
Yeah.
you answered like 4 questions that I haven't even asked yet. Did you have access to this already? Did you already know what I was going to say?
No, I think I just have this like intuition where I just know things before I know things.
Yeah, that was perfect. And man, speaking of the journey, like something that stood out to me, and there was so much. And thank you for sharing all that. That is absolutely incredible. And that right there, what you just did and broke down for all of us, is exactly why I started, doing these and at like interviewing people, is because I've known you since 2011,
Yeah.
and that's like 13 years that I've known you, and there was maybe like a little 2-minute session in there where I was like, oh, I know this part, and the rest of it was all just brand new information, and like just it peeled back layers and let me see some things about you that I had no idea, and it was so cool. And something that stood out, there's a few things. One, you moved to Miami, and instead of cheering at Top Gun, you were cheering at a host family at another gym. And
Yeah.
people are like, wait, what?
Yeah.
like
I was really standing by my people.
and listen, and that's something that I also, in the intro, I should have tapped, like, you are I think it goes beyond being a people pleaser, Adrian. Like you do such a good job of making people feel loved and welcomed, and you are loyal to the soil. I could tell you that right
Thank
now.
you.
Like
I
you're just
really
one of those
do pride
people.
myself off of that.
Yeah, like I'm telling you right now, if Adrian's in your corner, he's in your corner for life. I'm telling you that right now. That's just how he is.
Agreed.
Um, yeah, that is. Oh, that's outstanding. So yeah, you're living in Miami, but commuting and with a host family and going to another
Yeah.
gym. That was crazy. Um, also, finally making one of your dream teams, Double O, but having the wisdom and the courage to like say, hey, you know what? I'm going to let somebody else do this because you realize that your passion and focus was somewhere else, and that's a very mature thing to do. It's very wise, and it's also very difficult. And and that's like that's really impressive to do that, and it was really cool. And then of course your time here in California, and anybody that has never been to Cali or been to any of the Cali gyms, this man was coaching in Camarillo, coaching in Ontario, and cheering in San Marcos. And just to paint a little bit of a picture, right? Anybody out there, like from Camarillo to Ontario, it's only about 55, 60 miles, but it's through the heart of Los Angeles. And so that 40 that 55, 65 miles or so, like it's in a normal place, like if you're going to, if you're in Tennessee or if you're in, Oklahoma, that's only an hour, right? In California, that's about 2 to 2.5 hours,
Yeah.
maybe more, depending on the time of the day. And then San Marcos is 86 miles south of Ontario. So the days that he's going from Ontario to San Marcos, that's 86 miles, which the traffic's not as bad, but still that's an hour, hour and a half. And then the days you're going from Camarillo to San Marcos or vice versa, that's like 3.5, 4 hours in the car.
It
That
was a
is
lot.
insanity. Insanity. Yeah, and I remember, I mean, in Ontario, we go for, and I just remember, and it's nothing but love. It's all good memories. It's just things that we can laugh about now. But we get this amazing coach from Top Gun, which we're all excited about. I was so excited. I remember being like, put him in Ontario. Let's go. And then we get Adrian Butler, world champion athlete, world champion coach. Yeah, you're gonna coach youth too. Like,
It was a humbling moment. It was a
yep,
humbling moment.
that was, and I just remember being like, okay, all right, that's what we're doing, okay.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's again, I only remember the good stuff. I only remember the good times, and every time you come back to California, I'm like, dude, let's hit up Fourth and Mill. Let's go have a
Let's
good
do it.
meal. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's hang out. So yeah, yeah, just good memories. And like I said, you already answered so many questions, so I'm gonna kind of bounce around here.
Okay.
You answered what teams you've coached and what teams you are coaching. And so I want to the next thing I want to tap on is really, and I know you touched on this too with a lot of the people that you started with. But is there any person or group of people that you think influenced your coaching career? Like more than others, like who are your heavy influences as a coach, and then who are your heavy influences as a choreographer?
Okay, so kind of going down the coaching realm, I think I definitely could say that I obviously Victor and Kristen are two pinnacle people that I learned from. Jose Gonzalez and Greg Gazal are also two really big ones. Courtney Smith Pope is a huge one. I don't know like where the I just have always loved Senior Elite growing up. That was like my big fan team that I just followed and followed and followed. And just I think I could always appreciate her love. Like I
Mm.
could always tell that it was genuine for the kids, for the sport. She's always fought for the sport. And we can always say that the pyramids are absolutely outstanding. And I think that's an art form from the way that they make people feel. And I think that that's something that I've tried to emulate in my coaching is I I said it earlier, the deliverance, the way that
Mm.
you can leave a lasting impression, and something that I always ask my kids, and I started to share this with others because I just want everyone to have the same knowledge that I've been grateful to get. what's the difference between performing and delivering? And can you figure out those differences and can you make that change as an athlete or as a coach to not just perform because a performance is a simple smile or a shimmy or a hair whip, but a deliverance is showing your heart, showing your fight, showing your follow through, showing your trials and tribulations, showing every sense of your why to the people that are watching. And can you
Mm,
make them feel that as they're watching? And if you can do that, then you're delivering your performance. So I would say that those five people would definitely be top on my list of people that have inspired me over the years
mm-hmm,
um, to be the coach that I am. Then going down the choreography pathway, um, where do I start? So obviously I was in the Top Gun realm. So I have all those. The best thing about Top Gun, or one of the greatest things, is mostly everyone that coached is also a choreographer in that sense. So we got the best of both worlds. So I learned so much from being exposed to it. Um, and then just being very honest and transparent. I then learned a lot from Brandon Hale. Brandon Hale was a pinnacle of teaching me how to choreograph, like hands on. I just remember getting a Facebook message and he acknowledged my talents and he was like, I would love to teach you.
mm,
And I started traveling with him. He would sit with me, show me videos, and show me the ins and the outs, and ask me, how would you do this? I would say, I would probably do this, this, this. He said, that's not wrong, but why wouldn't you think to do this, this, this? And he would genuinely teach me. Um,
mm,
and then him and Courtney had worked for years together, so I felt like I was learning the love that I spoke about. He
mm,
loved doing choreography. He loved the teams that he worked with. He loved all of us as the staff that we had, and he taught me so much. So I will always give that man credit for teaching me
mm-hmm,
choreography.
mm-hmm,
Um, and then in present day, I've become very, very good friends with Lewis McClendon, has taught me a whole nother layer of choreography, of drive and passion. My King Lee is another one. His style is incredible and always there. Ray and Eric have always been great mentors to me in the industry. Being so young, I would say that they are intimidating because
mm-hmm,
of their repertoire of cheerleading and the teams that they've worked with and their resume and all those things. They have always been so easy to work with and so great to communicate with. It has never felt like a push, a pull of this is mine, this is yours. It's more of like, let's collaborate. And any of those people that I have mentioned have had that same, like, there's enough for all of us to go around. Let's all be great
mm.
together and just do cheerleading. It's never a competition between us. I could say that that would be my circle of choreographers in the sense of we just all want to be amazing together. And it's never anything serious like that, you know?
Yeah, yeah, man, so wise, Adrian. You're so wise. I wish I had a fraction of your wisdom, even now,
Thank you.
and definitely at your age. It's brilliant, and I loved a few things. One, I loved the idea. Let's collaborate because there is room for everyone, and I remember even as a young music producer, mostly is where I experienced it. If I had a client that worked with me and then the next year they worked with another producer, like it would hurt my feelings, right? Because I felt like I
Hmm.
failed them. I let them down. Um,
Right,
but then also like there was that. It was definitely a competitive thing,
right.
it's like oh, I just lost a client to so and so, and it really wasn't until I was well into my 30s, and I was like, no, you know what? There's actually plenty of cheerleading teams out there, and there's also so many different styles of music production that if a client goes to another producer, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm bad. It's just
Right.
number one, it's not their preference, right? But also like I used to get so focused on those one or two or three teams that would leave, and then I would lose focus on what
The
I
things
actually
that ever
had. Right, the ones that I had, and it was like, and so hearing you talk like that, it's just brilliant. It's very impressive. I love that. I also, I've heard Lewis's name so much recently, and I've only recently started to hear his name out here on the West Coast, and I'm pretty sure I know he's been in it for a long, long time.
Hmm.
And I've started to see routines that he's done. They are brilliant, like
He's incredible.
absolutely brilliant, like visuals. And I know this year or maybe last year he came to California All Stars for the first time, and I remember, and I didn't know. And I saw the routine in one of our coaches group chats, right? And I saw it, and I'm like, "Who did this routine? This doesn't look like anything we've ever had." And they're like, "Oh yeah, Lewis, came out, and is it McClendon? Is that his last
Yeah,
name?" Yeah, they're like Lewis McClendon. I'm like, well, whoever that is, like, get him up to Ontario. What are we doing? Like, hello, like it's absolutely brilliant. And so then once I saw that, then I started paying more attention, and I started realizing, like, oh no, he does some heavy hitters. And I've also gotten some music clients that have used him and that use him, and his it's just brilliant. I would love to meet Lewis. Lewis, if you're out there, I've heard and seen nothing but great things. I'm a fan. I hope to meet you one day. Um,
he's great.
yeah, and then oh gosh, there's one more thing. I keep you're spitting so much great stuff that I just want to keep track. And the talking about the Brandon thing. I know that yeah, that's a tough topic and conversation for some people. I love that you're open and honest with that. And something there's a quote that I heard. I wish I could remember exactly where I heard it, but I heard it many years ago, and I love it. I think it's beautiful. And the quote, it goes something like this. Test everything and hold on to what is good. And I know that it's biblical. I mean, I know I heard it from a pastor
Hmm.
once, but like that has resonated with me for, most of my adult life. It's like test everything and hold on to the good, because there is, even think about all the times we talk about, you learn so much even from bad experiences. You said some of your best memories and your favorite teams are teams that you didn't win with. It's the experiences that you got that you carry with you, right? And that goes in all
Absolutely.
realms. And it's like if you have an experience with a person, like, yeah, test it all, right? And hold on to what is good, and the rest, just let it go. Just let it go off, and just leave it alone. And you expressing the things that you learn and what you gain from that, and how much you grew. And it's like, yeah, that's the stuff that I'm going to hold on to. That's the stuff that I'm going to cherish, and those are the things that I'm going to carry with me. And the other stuff, it's like, we're just going to leave it over there. That's not anything that we need to get into. And I know
Right.
that that's a hard thing for some people. It's like, they want to, what's the expression? You want to throw out the baby with the bathwater, right? Which,
Yeah.
Google that expression. That's a crazy one. Um, but it's like you can find good in everything. And I think you can also find bad in everything, but test everything and hold on to the good stuff. And I love that, man. This is one of my favorite interviews already. I love it. I love your
Thank you.
heart. I love your honesty. It's really, really good stuff. Okay. So I have a couple more questions.
Okay.
Um, One thing that it's not even one thing, something that I notice, and I know that the industry notices, your teams are absolutely incredible when it comes to two categories, in my opinion, the technique and the performance. Um, I know there's a lot of ways to get the technique out,
Hmm.
and to get that dialed in. And there's a lot of great coaching methods, not just, at the highest levels, but at every level. I mean, I've seen some
Yeah.
incredible, D1 teams, D2 teams. I've seen some incredible level 2, 1, 3, 5, all of the levels, right? Like there's a lot of ways to get the technique there. But something that I believe Adrian Butler teams have uniquely that are head and shoulders above almost every other team in the industry is that performance. And I'm sure you get asked a lot, so I'm going to ask it. Maybe I'll ask it in a more unique way. But what would you say, let's say you come across an athlete that is struggling. Let's say, somebody clicks on this and it's an athlete that struggles with performance, right? Whether that's, from an anxiety or just they are so hyper focused that they're just not able to be free out there. How would you encourage an athlete that struggles with performance, to kind of get out, or ooh, a thumbs down. That's not good. Thumbs up. Um, how would you encourage an athlete or a coach that is coaching an athlete that just has a hard time kind of getting out of their, out of their own way and out of their comfort zone? How would you encourage someone to bring that performance out?
Um, I'm trying to think of like a short way to explain it. I think it all has to do with confidence on both ends. I think as adults, we have to be confident enough to lead by example. I would say that's one thing that I am not ashamed of. I will dance around with the kids. I will perform back. I will hair whip my imaginary hair with you. I will perform at you while you are performing to me. I would say that it's all about your professional connection.
Mm.
Um, it is making sure that the kids feel comfortable enough to be open. I think a lot of times kids get intimidated by their peers, especially I find this a lot in the preseason when we get new athletes that have never done that performance level. And I'm like, jump into a sponge and we're going to hold a sponge for 4 8 counts and you're just going to hair whip and shimmy. And they're like starting to do it. And I'm like, more. Turn towards each other. Do it. Like, let's go. Come on. I'm like, I'll do it too. Put me in a sponge.
Let's go.
Like, let's do it. Like, and then when they figure out, and then they do it correct the one time, but they feel crazy. They're like, I'm so sorry. I looked crazy. I know I looked like this. And everybody on the team is like, girl, you just did that. That was great. Like, that's what we've been waiting for. And they're like, oh, that's what you wanted? Okay, I'm gonna give it to you like that times 10 every single time. So, and just encouraging it when you see it. I think that's the one thing from coaching that we get fixated on the fixes a lot and not the it's okay to be tough because I would be a liar if I would not say that I'm a tough coach. I'm very tough. But the one thing I can say that is consistent is my kids know that I love them. They know that I would go through walls for them. And they know that when they do it well, I'm going to give you the credit that you need.
Mm.
And so I might say it's wrong 80 times, but the second that I see it the exact way that I want it, I'm going to be like, that right there, that's the one. Let's do that 8 more times. And then once they make that conscious, I've done it correct, he acknowledged it, then I'm going to make sure that I feed you the good after that. So when I see it again, I'm like, this could have been better in the full outs, everyone. But Susie, I noticed that you really pointed your toes. That's 2 times you've done it great now. Wow, I'm so proud of you.
Mm.
And that's all a kid needs because we're all wanting to be perfectionists as coaches. We want it to be perfect. But if we keep fixating our thoughts on what we want to be better instead of what's already great, like you said in your comment, we can always look for the good in something. It's not perfect all the time. I'm not saying that I have these perfect practices where I don't just fixate on the tough things and like things the way that I want it. But I
Hmm.
do try to make a conscious effort to point out the small little thing that someone fixed that I've been asking for weeks.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome. Awesome. And I know that I know there's gonna be somebody that watches this. Well, for you, like the only person watching this for me, I've said this already, is my mom. Love you, mom. Shout out to mom. But I know that somebody is going to see that, like, oh, Adrian Butler did an interview, and they're going to click on it and they're going to hope for what you just explained, and it's going to be perfect. There's going to be an athlete that hears that, and it's going to change their next practice. There's going to be a coach that hears that. It's going to be to change the way they coach at the next practice, and that's brilliant. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Okay, so my last question. I have two more
Okay,
things. One's a question and one's just kind of a discussion. But the
okay.
last question is, you have accomplished so much. You're a world champion coach, world champion choreographer, national champion coach, national champion choreographer. There's so many things that you have already done. And you are a young guy. You may not feel like it, you are a young guy, and you've already done so many incredible things in this industry. You've accomplished so much, and I know that you're going to accomplish more. But my question is, after you've accomplished those things, right? Like you've already won world championships, you've already won summit championships, you've already won, NCAA championships. What do you do? And maybe a better way of asking, like, what are your benchmarks now, right? Like, of course, the goal is to repeat those successes. But what do you have now that's sort of a benchmark for your goals that you have of like, okay, we've done these incredible things and we want to continue to do them, but now I'm gonna like ramp it up to here. Like, how do you stay motivated, and what goals or benchmarks do you have that you're looking towards?
I get motivated by the challenge, I would say. Um, People ask me a lot, why do I pick these tough divisions? And why do I go after these like teams that have been around for so long, and why do I want to do that to myself? And I said it makes me better. Whether I win, lose, or draw,
Mm.
I gain from this experience. I could have
Yes.
done, if I lose, I could have coached something better this way. I could have gotten them more confident in their skills to where something else went right. And then if it turns out on the other end for me, it's like I can. Like,
Hmm.
I think I've just grown up in a mindset of hearing people not necessarily telling me much, but just like hearing people through walks of life tell people they can't, or
Mm.
like you won't, or this and that. And I'm always like not I'm not a why me, I'm more like try me.
Okay.
So it's like, oh, you don't think I can? Like just with medium co-ed, it's a bloodbath. It is hard. Every single team, I would say, is at the same exact caliber. There's not one of us that is better or worse than the other. It could be any given Sunday, any team. And I respect every single team in that division because of the caliber of cheerleading that they perform at. But people ask me why. Why not? Why not? Why not challenge myself? It's this year has been the hardest for me because I have since 2020, 2019 have coached adults in the world's caliber.
Hmm.
I'm having to relearn a lot of coaching processes with these kids and just dialing it back a notch, remembering that they're kids, remember that they have school before this, remember that their mom might have yelled at them, remember that they're having teenage uh, boyfriend, girlfriends, and they're crying at practice and they need a second. And sometimes they just need someone to be like, it's going to be okay, you know? And that's kind of tuned me back into real life, and that I feel like the adults can be robots really fast. I
Mm.
say this is the correction, this is what I want it to be, and they can do it on impact. This year I'm finding that I make a correction and I see it right then, and then I come back the next practice and it's not translated, so I had to figure out ways to get that stuff to stick. And it's challenging my thought process and my coaching behaviors to be able to emulate what I want from this and where I can get it to, but with a different process each time. So I would say that that keeps me hungry. And then kind of just like what I said earlier is seeing people happy keeps me hungry. Like when we get new coaches and new teams and new this and new that in our gym, and I get new kids, I would say that I hone in on their stories a lot, with my professional connection with them. I would say like last year, just for example, I knew that there was kids on Revelation that had been in world's cheerleading for a very, very long time, that had gotten stigmas of whenever they're on the team loses. Whenever this happens, they're they're the ones that make the mistakes happen, or this and that, and all these negative things. And I'm like, it motivates me to make it happen for them.
Mm.
So like even 2 years ago, there's kids that like their stories are so prominent in my head, and I can like when I'm coaching and like say if I ever lose a second of motivation, I'm like I can look on the floor and I'm like, this isn't for me, this is for you. This is for you for your 14 years of cheerleading, and you've gotten second place every single time. And like even talking about it like gets me emotional because like these kids do this for so long, and all they want sometimes is for someone to be like, I'm proud of you, and I try to be that person for them. Um, and that's my favorite statement every year at the ring ceremony is you did it. Like for all the people that said you couldn't and that you're the problem, and look, you have a world's ring on your finger, you have a summit ring on your finger, and it's more than just like the piece of metal that you're gonna lose most likely, and the metal that's gonna rust, and all those things. It's about overcoming what people said you couldn't do. And
Mm.
look at you now, you get to go back and you get to, my favorite saying, and I can't even take credit for it, one of my athletes said to the team, and that stuck with me 2 years ago, was, how do you want your last performance to be remembered?
Mm.
And I said, wow, that is such like a deep thought, because, and then he took it farther. He said, I mean, it's very superficial. How do you want your YouTube video to be looked up for years? I said, that's true. I said, because I go back and watch videos from years and years ago, and there's performances from my own teams, from different teams. I'm like, that's such a great routine, but look at that like little thing that happened, or like this and that, and like we just, how do you want to be remembered is more
Mm.
important to me than what we walk out with that people are going to forget. How many times you have to ask who got second in 20 this? I don't know. What were the division rankings? Couldn't tell you. I couldn't even tell you in some of the divisions who won NCAA last year. But
Yeah.
it's the memories and the lasting impressions that these kids get, and those are things that I just really try to instill in all these athletes to make their experience overall different from what they've had before. And if they've had it before, to top it each year. So, like my athletes that go with me, I try to do different things each year to keep it fun, to keep it fresh, to keep it interesting, to where they can be like, on Revelation chapter 2, I did this, but on chapter 4, we didn't do that, but we still did this and we had so much fun doing it. Like this coming weekend in Dallas, Revs are going line dancing. We're gonna do the hokey pokey, and we're gonna figure it out and turn it all about. And we're gonna dance in Dallas, and it's gonna be fun.
I love it. I love it. Is that in any way inspired by Beyonce's latest drop? Is that?
We might put out a little video
Oh
doing
yes.
whatever we learned to the at the line dancing class. We might do it to her song or something.
Okay. Well, and listen, this we're recording this before Dallas. It's actually going to come out probably mid March ish.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't given this enough thought, honestly, but I haven't really figured out like how I want to do these yet. But if there's anything that you want to talk about, if you want to like try to, I won't say predictions, but if there's any fun things that we can expect at NCA, this will come out well after NCA, so you don't have to worry about any leaks or anything. But is there any fun things to look forward to from Revs? Any like surprises or changes or adjustments since was it Jam Fest? Was there no Cheersport?
Cheers,
Where
sport.
Cheersport? Any little tweaks since Cheersport? Anything to look forward to? And this will just be for me for now.
Yeah. I wouldn't say anything major. Our codes will be up. And I would say that what has been adjusted is our confidence.
There we go.
So we have come home. The kids have been in the gym working really, really hard. Um, just grinding. I think since we've been back for about a week and we've hit 9 routines,
Hmm.
and it's just building that I will, I must, no matter what I'm feeling, what I'm going through, and just making sure that we are delivering. I tell them, the arena is probably the loneliest place in cheerleading. While
You
those
ain't
people are
you ain't never
cheering for
lied.
you, while those people are cheering for you, you're not going to hear them. So you could hear a pin drop. So all you got is you and your other people on the floor with you. So you better make it a party for you guys. And that's
Yeah.
all we're going to do. We're going to go to Dallas and we're going to have a good time. And whatever happens, happens. I tell them all the time, don't get fixated on the bigger picture. You can't control if you win. You can't control if you hit, but you can control your attitude and your effort. So let's just do our controllables. And that's all we can ask for.
I love it. I love it, man. And this was such a brilliant interview. You answered almost every question I had without me even having to ask. I think I only asked you like 3 questions because you
Yeah.
checked them all off. I was gonna ask like, why would you change divisions? You're like, you already touched on that, and I loved what you said. That's gonna stick with me for a while. It's like, not why me, try me.
Yep.
Ooh, that was a bar, Adrian Butler. That was a bar.
Put it
That
in the
one's gonna
mix.
stick. Oh, it's going. Boy, you think I'm playing? That's going in Guardians. You kidding
Perfect.
me? Why me? Try me. Oh my lord, that is a bar right there.
I should
I
get a little
love that.
shout out in the mix, AB on the track.
Yeah, I got you, bro. Let's go. Maybe I'll have you when I get to Dallas. I'll record a little. Like we'll have to go to like a quiet area. I'll record a little voice note from you. We'll see if I can throw it in there. So the last bit, you already answered almost every single question before I could ask it. And something that I wanted to do is just at the end, I wanted to open up the floor to you. I wanted to give you an opportunity, just say anything that's on your heart, on your mind. If you want to wish anybody good luck, or if there's like any group of athletes you want to talk to, or any program or anything like that. I just wanted to open up to you. If there's anything on your mind that you wanted to say to cheerleading in general, the floor is yours, sir.
Um, If I could say anything to cheerleading, I would just say remember that it's supposed to be fun. While at the end of the day, this is competitive. We have to have fun while doing it. These are the kids and the friends and the coaches that you will hopefully at one point in your life invite to your wedding and will be a part of your life for years to come. So just take the little moments at the end of the day. Just like I tell my kids, it's just cheerleading. So these medals, trophies, all these things will rot and disappear. But at the end of the day, the memories and the bonds and the friendships will last a lifetime. So just really don't get fixated on the superficial things and remember that these are moments that you won't have again. So just really live it up no matter what.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for doing this. I had so much fun. I got to learn so much about you. I appreciate it so much. And tell everybody real quick, if anybody doesn't follow my man on, all the platforms, will you just throw out all your ats so people know where to find you?
I think my at on Instagram is just at Adrian Butler. On Twitter, it is Adrian Butler 13. And yeah, on Facebook, just Adrian Butler.
There you go. And if anybody out there is trying to book ABC choreography, how do
Yes.
they get a hold of you if you're not fully booked already?
You can email me at abcchoreography1@gmail.com.
Perfect. Love it. Well, thank you again, man. Have a great day at practice. Have a great week of practice, and I will see you in Dallas,
You
baby.
too. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right. Love you, bud.
Love you.
Bye.